What's going on, you lovely lurkers?
Welcome to the front podcast of the internet.
I'm your host, Willy.
And I'm your host, Scott.
We're a show all about Reddit.
Covering all the ups and down votes in 30 minutes.
Or it's free.
If you like the show, you can find more of us on
TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Or in a cookies folder obtained by John Oliver.
Not my cookies! You know what I'm discovering as I get older? I don't know if I should be proud of this for discovering it or feel sad or just ask myself, why am I about to tell the internet this?
It's something to do with your butthole.
Here's the deal, man. I had Dairy Queen. I mean, I could have lowered the gas prices in Minneapolis with the amount of methane I was producing.
I've noticed that Beans and I are no longer friends. They hang around way too often. They give me too many Minnesota goodbyes, if you know what I mean.
For anybody who's listening to this show on Thursday, right when it comes out, this could age like milk, but I hope you're doing well. I hope everything is fine.
I hope we're doing well as well. I had a fun week finding stories. I know we've kind of beleaguered the fact that Reddit's kind of been a one-trick pony as of late, but how about you?
I had a terrible time finding stories, but we are going to get into some controversial stuff on my end, Scott.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to start with a lighter note, just to ease people in. What's been that age-old tale? If you have somebody that comes up to you and says, hey, if you don't like this country, you need to get out. Where do they assume you're going?
I'm assuming they just want me to get on some sort of transportation module and across a border, whether it's into Canada, Mexico, or flying to a place that no longer is within the
continental United States.
I was about to
I
say
don't think they care,
but I think that's wrong.
Here's the deal, Scott. You might even be telling yourself, average listener to this show, I can't even afford the house prices in America anyways, so I'm going to GTF the fuck out of here, and hell, I'm just going to go to Canada, where everybody knows your name. Well, you know what Canada has to say about that?
Why don't you go back to where you came from?
Yep. Why don't you get the F out of our country? Because this week in the subreddit World News, Canada is going to ban foreigners from buying homes as their home prices soar.
Do you think we should do that here?
I think we should ban locals from buying homes. Scott, you got in at the right time.
I sure did. Super lucky, yeah. Even though I paid way more than asking.
And then there's me, renting. There's not a clear line in sight that says you're going to be able to afford a home. I just want to give you an example. So back in 2005, when I was graduating from high school, you were into college. I'm seeing here that the average home price for a house in Canada, yeah, that makes sense. No, it was $242,000.
Is that low?
That's in Canadian dollars. That's probably what it was here in the United States. If you average out high cost living in like San Francisco, medium cost living like here in the Twin Cities, right? We're looking at average. Home prices in Canada have soared more than a specific percent over the last 2 years. The market saw a record monthly increase in February.
How many moose per capita in that housing range? Like, does a moose come with the house?
What I would rather you do, Scott, other than talk about the wildlife in Canada, what do you think the average cost of a home is today in 2022?
Oh, that was in 2005. $399.
The last time they saw under 400,000 was in 2014 because the current average cost of a home in Canada is $870,000.
In the entire country?
Yes. So let's compare that to the United States, if we will. The average home cost in 2005 was actually up quite a bit. It was $297,000. So it was actually a little bit higher than Canada.
I'm surprised that there's such a discrepancy. I mean, living here in Minnesota, aka South Canada, we don't see that much of a difference in weather and wildlife.
I mean, we have some wildlife, but that's really just all those Wisconsinites coming over. The interesting part here, which surprises me, is that the median home price in the U.S. by state today is about $270,000. So according to this, it's gone down.
There's your chance, millennials. Get in while the getting's good.
Don't listen to it. It's wrong. It's Zillow. They're just tricking you into buying a house.
You know what my thought on this is?
That you're a lucky son of a bitch.
Oh, well, I am.
You're sitting on a gold mine.
I am. I know I am. No, but I think you should just not worry about it. Just stop caring. Like, do whatever you want to do. Don't worry about a house. That's my advice for everybody. And here's why. Because this week in world news, the UN warned that the Earth is firmly on track towards an unlivable world. Forget your stupid house. We're not going to be able to live on the stupid planet.
Did you see the video this week of the scientists who locked themselves with handcuffs to the JP Morgan building in New York?
I don't see how that's going to get people to stop polluting fast enough. No.
So
what? Why? Why would they do this?
So these guys knew that they were going to get a lot of shit for it, but they also understood that something drastic needs to happen. These are scientists with a lot of credentials taking a moment and taking a stance to say, we're fucked and people aren't doing enough about it. We need to have an immediate change or we're not going to be able to recover from this. It was the moment in Don't Look Up when the scientists were on that news site saying there's literally something about to kill us and I'm scared.
Spoiler alert for people who live on planet Earth. Or should I say boiler alert? Because temperatures have already increased over 1.1 degrees Celsius, you're welcome, or 2 degrees Fahrenheit since pre-industrial times, resulting in measurable increases in disasters such as flash floods, extreme heat, more intense hurricanes, and longer burning wildfires, putting us, humans, in danger and costing governments hundreds of billions of dollars to confront. Do you think maybe we should get some more scientists in positions of power?
I think we've talked about this on past shows, and I am a firm believer that the people that are in power are, generally speaking, not the wisest, not the most understanding of how things work. And scientists often get pushed off to the side. Remember an example of an individual who, for a short period of time, was running this country and said, we can just put sunlight inside the body. And there was a scientist sitting off to the side going, I fucking hate my job. Speaking of things that don't make any sense, we're going to talk about religion.
Oh.
Scott, this week in the subreddit Facepalm, I'm probably going to lose a fair amount of people who listen to us. Sorry.
Do you think they're still listening after the global warming thing we just said?
This says, know how to find an atheist? They'll tell you. But wait, those atheists wearing their atheist necklaces and atheist earrings and building gigantic atheist monuments and congregating to yell out loud how much they love atheism and going around the world to different countries and telling people that they should be atheists and making sculptures of their first atheist and planting pictures of the first atheist and screaming to random strangers how they love atheism. Yeah, atheists who do that.
What are you trying to say, Willy?
What do you think I'm trying to say?
I think you're talking about a single person who believes in religion God thing, a theist.
I brought this post up, one, because I was having a hard time finding stories this week, and two, because I saw a post earlier that said the Satanic Temple, which is different than the Church of Satan. The Satanic Temple. Yeah, totally.
They're two?
Do you know the difference between the two?
No, I honestly thought they were the same thing. There really is a war on Christmas.
Then I want to ask you a genuine question. condescension aside, this is the reason I'm bringing this post up, because I think that this person is being fairly condescending. And I think you and I are pretty level-headed. So I will bring us back to reality, trust. But the Satanic Temple is officially recognized as a tax-exempt church by the IRS, while the Church of Satan is not.
Which one was first?
Church of Satan.
And they still haven't reached tax-exempt status? Wow, that's just being lazy.
Neither of them actually believe in Satan, but the Church of Satan is more of like a religious organization where they get a little weird. They believe in magic. They don't do any social activism. They're a little all over the board. The Satanic Temple was specifically formed as a way to express how religious organizations manipulate government systems in their favor, not having to pay taxes, being able to advocate and say like, hey, I don't need to make a cake for this trans couple, this gay couple, because it is against my religion. The Satanic Temple is meant to be that opposite one. We're going to pay our fair due in taxes. We're going to not take any tax exemption. We're going to pay our dues. And then we're also going to put in position things like abortion is part of our religion. So they're going to fight the opposite. My question to you, Scott, the fact that these two types of dichotomies work, how do you interact? How do you feel
with
about
the Church of Satan, Willy?
No,
you can't out me like that.
I'm going to ask a different question. How do you choose to be open-minded to all different types of religion? What's your outlook on this?
I think it's really easy to just be tolerant of everybody. But you have to be willing to look inside. First of all, you have to be able to examine your own flaws and say, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at. It's entirely possible that if I'm not good at something, other people are not good at something, aka we're not perfect. I think it's kind of silly that the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple have to even exist. It's only because they saw a power grab from somebody who was taking advantage of people, humans, and they said, you know what? If you can do this as a supposed tax-exempt religious organization, we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to say, don't you see how hypocritical this is? Don't you see that this is hurting people when you're supposed to be helping? When like the only thing you preach is how you're supposed to be helping people? The irony is not lost on me.
Yeah, I think the challenge with a topic like this is for those people who haven't addressed in themselves that inner conflict you may or may not have of, is this something I believe in? Is it not something I believe in? Have you opened yourself up to listening objectively to what another person has to say or what another person has to believe in? And instead of looking for a moment to criticize, do you find yourself saying, oh, that's an interesting point. It might actually challenge my own beliefs, positively or negatively. It sounds like you and I, at different points in our lives, but pretty close to each other, made that conscious choice to say, where am I in what my faith might look like or my spirituality? And say, have I taken a hard look in the mirror and said, am I being critical of myself? That's not to say that somebody who is religious is worse than somebody who's not, or somebody who is not religious, it has no moral compass. I don't believe any of that. I think that we all need to take that choice to say what makes us feel a certain way and not then be critical of somebody else who doesn't feel the same way.
You're right, Willy. I think we should be willing and open to be able to talk to anybody, no matter where they're from on this planet, no matter where they are in their life, and be able to approach them with humility and the ability to just say, you know what, I like you just for being you. And I hope you like me just for being me. And really, go ahead, ask me anything. And speaking of ask me anything, this week, speaking of religion too, I guess, the one true God had an AMA. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who have no idea what blasphemy I'm talking about, Nicolas Cage, aka Reddit's one true God, had an AMA, and it went a little something like this. By the way, he was doing this to promote his latest movie, The Unbearable Weight of Incredible Talent, I think is what it's called.
The post is titled, "Hello, I'm Nicolas Cage. and welcome to Ask Me Anything. And the proof is right there in front. So let's start with the first question. What's the movie quote you hate most when strangers holler at you in public?
I don't have a problem with any of the quotes. I'm just glad they remember the movie.
Thanks, Nick. What's your dream role you have yet to complete?
I would like to play Jules Verne's Captain Nemo because the character love of the ocean that I share with him.
I just have a couple more questions for you here.
Sure, no problem.
One of the most fascinating performances to me was as Big Daddy in Kick-Ass. When you were crafting that performance, was Adam West the biggest inspiration for your superhero persona? Or were there other sources you felt that drew more heavily from?
Good question. I would have to give it all to Adam West. I grew up watching him in the 60s Batman show, and he is where it begins and where it ends as Big Daddy. I met Adam West once, and he said, "Did you see?" I said to him, actually, "Did you see I was channeling you?" And he said, "I saw you try to channel me."
Oh, cool. Now, I just have two more questions for you. Who is a director you would like to work with?
I would have to say I would love to work with Christopher Nolan. I would love to work with Ari Aster, and I think I would love to work with Robert Eggers. Oh, and Spike Lee, too.
Hey, Nick, just give us a minute. I want to talk to Scott for a second. Scott, could you imagine a movie with Christopher Nolan and Nicolas Cage?
I would pay many dollars to see this movie.
What is your dream genre for this film? Like, what's the premise? Is it super sci-fi? Is it more grounded?
No, I want to see a rom-com. Breaking ground for both of these people. Christopher Nolan, first time in this, and just like an amazing soundtrack, that's going to be coming. But Nicolas Cage, I think he won his Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, and so I just want to see him revisit that.
Yeah, and I think the best leading actress to play side by side with Nicolas Cage there would be Tilda Swinton
as Nicolas Cage.
Hey, speaking of which, I have one more question. Nick, if you could come back in the room here.
I got time for one more.
Yeah, speaking of being a fake version of yourself. Hey, Mr. Travolta, how has life changed for you since changing faces with Nicolas Cage? Do you regret your decision, or would you do it again?
Yeah. I would have to say, I worked in the Welcome Back Cotta, and it was a really great time.
What is that? That was like any American trying to play a British accent, while every British actor would surprise you that they were British, apparently. And with that, it's time for this week's upvotes and downvotes.
Huge positive week for me this week, Willy. I don't believe in downvotes anymore. I only believe in the up orange red.
Why don't you hit me with an upvote? I'll hit you with a downvote, and then I'll hit you with another upvote.
My first upvote this week comes from Made Me Smile. It's a Brazilian priest who takes abandoned dogs off the streets, feeds them, bathes them, and then presents a dog to each mass to be adopted. Now, dozens and dozens of stray dogs have found a home thanks to this priest.
That's adorable. Unlike the fact that this man has no hair from nuts to taint.
What?
Speaking of downvotes,
I just want to know how you know this, because that wasn't in the pictures I looked at.
This week in the subreddit, interesting as fuck. Here is another reason that you should not, and I mean shouldn't, nor do they want you, go to Canada. This is a video of a giant sturgeon in a lake. And I'm sorry, but this might be one of the most terrifying sights I've seen.
This video is terrifying on many levels. Because if you've ever read about like the Loch Ness Monster or seen some sort of sci-fi fantasy thing where like giant water dragons exist, you just would see like part of its body with scales crest above the water and then slowly slurp back down. That's exactly what this looks like. This fish is what, 10 feet long?
10 feet long easily. My top comment here says, until I started seeing stories and pics of sturgeon like this, I used to think my grandma was just a crazy old lady telling stories about fishing in Canada back in the 30s and seeing fish as long as her boat. She was a crazy old lady, but she was not lying.
Grandpa was always jealous.
Also, no hair from taint to nuts. Weird.
Now, my second upvote this week is near and dear to my heart. It's from Tech News. MIT scientists have developed a new regenerative drug that reverses hearing loss. Why is this important? For everybody who is new to this podcast, I have hearing loss. I am a hard of hearing individual, and I've been waiting on this company, Frequency Therapeutics, to have some sort of positive news for the past 10 years. Honestly, I've just been saying like, okay, well, it's good that all of these companies have something to work towards because there's over 60 million people with hearing loss in the United States alone. That's a good sized market. So I had hope. Going through all of this tough shit growing up with my condition, I always had this little sliver of hope that someday it would get better. And this week, things are just that much closer.
I love this news, Scott. I found this post this week too because you being my best bud, I want you to be able to have your hearing as well because I want you to listen to how annoying I am. I want you to just have to look at how annoying I am.
All the dulcet tones of Willy's voice.
I have a lot of like uhs and uhs that I get rid of, and he can't hear them. He doesn't know.
You want to know the craziest thing about this story, though? The lead scientist, Willy, and I shit you not, shaved balls straight to the taint.
Oh, no.
I tried to get him right mid-sip. I couldn't do it fast enough.
I don't know if you've ever had white wine come out your nose, but it almost happened. Scott, in my final upvote of the week, and I think this is such a perfect way to end this episode, this week, in so many subreddits, but specifically the subreddit news, the Senate confirmed Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court last Thursday, shattering a historic barrier by securing her place as the first black female justice, giving President Joe Biden a bipartisan endorsement for his promised effort to diversify the high courts.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Do not make a comment about her taint. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week.
Find more of us on our socials. And remember,
no matter what you're into, whether it's
EDM production,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
What could go wrong?
Or Museum of Reddit.
There's a sub for that.
Oh, that was good.